See it played, Advanced Tobruk System, Quickstart, Basic Game 1, Americans versus Germans. So this is presented as a Quickstart basic game, and I think it succeeds admirably in a few ways. It is Quickstart, it is basic, and especially if you play with what they present here is the optional fire and movement segment together. I think it does take you through the basic motions of full ATS. I think you get the basics of the fire combat routine, the close combat routine, and so forth. And having played just a little bit of the full rules, I will say that it is a good primer for stepping into or back into the full rules. So this is turn 4, halfway through the scenario. Fight for this village made up of wooden and stone buildings. And we'll see take a closer look at where we left off. So on the American side, first of all, they've only eliminated one German squad. Back here on the hill, they have a squad with minus one casualties marker with a light machine gun. In this wooden building here, they've got a squad, light machine gun, and a sergeant. In this masonry or stone building, they have a full squad, a half squad with machine gun, and another sergeant. On the German side, they've got a wounded sergeant here, a half squad with an MG42, and a full squad. 2 hexes away from the Americans in this wooden building. 2 hexes away from these Americans, we got Captain Weiss and a half squad there. And here we have 2 squads, each of them with an MG42 and a sergeant back here on this side. And they've eliminated 2 American squads, 2 American bar gunners, and the officer, Captain Ralph. So basically a quick passing remark about height advantage. In this case, the Americans with the machine gun on the hill, the little hill there, when they've been firing down into the village through this hex of orchard, it has made me wonder, is there any looking over anything? And basically in this Quickstart basic game, the units on the hill, they may be able to see over hedges and walls, but not anything else. So when they're shooting down into the village, they're still shooting through the orchard to get to the Germans in the building there. If a German unit was basically, if a German unit was if a German unit was, we don't really have a example, but a German unit behind a wall could be observed from a unit on a hill if the line of sight were otherwise not blocked. But I don't, quickly scanning the map, I don't see an easy situation like that. Over here, the Americans actually can't see back here because they can only see into this next hill hex. They can't see over this other hill hex. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so roll for initiative here. The Germans rolled low. They're not going to pass. They're going to take the impulse. The basic idea here, I think, is the Germans want to shoot at the Americans here, try to cause some effects, some suppression at least. Not that there's suppression by name, but in general terms, they want to suppress the Americans here so they can get these machine gunners over on this side. Basically, I now see that the machine guns probably should have been brought up and concentrated on this side of the road and not this side, because these orchards produce a screen here that is now getting in the Germans' way. So that was some quick analysis anyways. Maybe it's not such complete analysis, but first we're going to fire in on the Americans there. So the half squad here with the MG42 under the sergeant's direction. I'm going to fire in the Americans there. So the half squad's gunfire factors of 5 is reduced 1 because they're also shooting the light machine gun. So it's 4 of their gunfire factors added to 5 for the MG42 for 9, which means that we're going to execute this on the 8 column. It's +3 for the stone building and +3 for the stone building, -1 for the NCO direction for a net +2. Germans roll a 3 +2 is 5. 5 on the 8 column is a C1 result. Now what do we have left? Okay. So to take a C1 result, Sergeant Walsh could be wounded, but we're not going to do that. It's already reduced to a half squad with the light machine gun, so don't want to add the 1 casualties marker to the gunners there, or the soldiers with the light machine guns. So we're going to add the 1 casualties to the full squad there. It has a very good morale of 9. -1 for casualties is 8. Back up to 9 for Sergeant Walsh in the same hex. That's it. So it's 9. Yeah, 7 +1 for the C1 result is 8. 8 is still less than or equal to its adjusted morale of 9, so it passes its morale test and is not broken. The full squad, German squad, did not participate. The half squad with the machine gun and Sergeant Carr, all marked with a fired marker, and I'll put the squad that did not participate on the top there so I don't forget them, and also so they're not under the fired marker. And then the Americans are going to take their impulse. In general, they're in a good position to keep firing away. As a matter of fact, the Germans should probably pull back from here, but we'll see what happens. They're actually going to stay there and keep firing. Probably going to try to just take a chance and move with that force there. It's not very big, but it's a full squad with a machine gun and a leader. Probably just try to move. I think the Americans are feeling the crunch of not having enough forces, having lost 2 squads, 2 bar gunners, and an officer leader. We just had several huge swings of chance. So first, the Americans up here fired down and missed completely. Then the German force here fired through the orchards at the Americans here in the wooden building, rolled a 10, missed entirely. Then the impulse went back to the American option, and at that point I was thinking about whether Sergeant Kendo and his men shouldn't use crawling movement to come out here into the orchards. so that in the close combat segment they could infiltrate into here and do some close combat. But that made me think, if for opportunity fire, a leader, a non-broken leader like Captain Weiss here, could form a fire group with the two machine guns that have remaining rate of fire in this hex. If Captain Weiss could not form a fire group for opportunity fire, the rules don't in any way indicate that you can't do that. So I'm assuming that in this version, this basic version of the rules, you can do that, and then that seemed too foolish. However, I should point out there is nothing for firing adjacent that's unusual, but it still would have been a half squad with 2 MG42s. So I decided against that, and instead I fired with this group, Sergeant Walsh and his men over here, at Captain Weiss and his men in the wooden building there, and rolled a 1. So they together, I think it's 8 minus 1 is 7, plus 6 minus 1 is 12. Yeah, plus, 7, 5 is 12, plus 5 is 17, yes. So that's the 14 column. Yeah, okay, I was on the wrong column, but it doesn't matter. On the 14 column, it's plus 2 for the stone building, minus 1 for the NCO direction, for a net plus 1. So it's a roll of 1, plus 1 is 2. 2 on the 14 column is a C4. So that's going to eliminate the Germans, because that would be 1 to wound the captain, 2 to eliminate him, 3 to add casualties to the half squad, and 4 to remove the half squad. So the Americans there blew away all the Germans. Wow. That of course allows a more realistic chance for Sergeant Kendo to get into this building this turn. Okay, but it goes to the German impulse, which actually you only have the MG42s left here and the 1 squad here. Oh, and the MG42 under here. So the Germans suffered from a little analysis paralysis and passed. If they tried to pull this, first of all, this squad could add its fire to that target, but only 6 gunfire factors with the plus 3 for the stone building. Not very good odds. If they use crawling movement to come back 1, there's still line of fire, or line of sight and line of fire between here and there. So the light machine gun there could have fired on them. So Germans passed. So the Americans took their chance, and Sergeant Kendo used crawling movement to come out here in the orchard. And sure enough, the 2 German MG42s opened up with 10 gunfire factors altogether, plus 2 for... Oh, wait a minute. I think that would actually only be plus... that would only be plus 1, because the orchards are between the fire and the target. Okay, so there's a whole separate specific section for this. So it is only the orchard between the fire and target. The orchard in the target hex doesn't count. No idea why it's done that way, but okay. So it's plus 1 for the orchards, not plus 2. So plus 1 for the orchards which is canceled by the NCO leadership. So it is an even 4 on the 10 column, which is still a C2. So the Americans here are going to take a C2. I think, well, I'm going to wound Sergeant Kendo for take care of 1C1 and add 1 casualties marker to the squad there. So now they have to make morale check with a with a +2. Sergeant Kendo is 6, +1 for the squad is 7. 7. Yeah, 1 + 2 is 3. So he easily passes. The squad is morale of 9, -1 for the casualties markers, 8, +1 for Sergeant Kendo's 9 again. And easily passes. 2 + 2 is 4. So easily passed their morale checks. Like I'll say it again, I don't see a lot of breaking in this game, and I'll say it again, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't call that bad. I don't call that a negative. It's just, I guess if it's, I don't know, when I play, maybe it's just the way I play, but if there's not going to be a lot of breaking, maybe we don't need all those rules for breaking and rallying and all that other stuff. I don't know. Now I am just talking off the top of my head. I haven't thought that through. Alright, so now it's the Germans. Change the fired marker to a fire 2 marker. Now it's the Germans again. Okay, we'll do some last minute shooting here, and then well, we'll see if we get some lucky shots here at the end. Still have another rate of fire here, have some fire here, 1 rate of fire here, 1 rate of fire here. So the German squad here fired with another rate of fire on the machine gun, which I went ahead and included Sergeant Carr in. I wasn't sure I wasn't. So they did cause a C2 result on the Americans here, wounding Sergeant Walsh and making this unit lose another casualty, and they also broke. Okay, the Germans fired one more time with their MG42, last rate of fire attack. They actually got a C2 result on the Americans here. So actually, both sides are whittling each other down. That wounded Sergeant Walsh, and I took another step loss off of this unit here, the one that was already broken. And now I found the hidden rule. This is out of place, I think. Personnel units already broken that failed another morale check due to fire are also eliminated. That's under the surrender section, so it's not where I imagined to find it. So I need to add another step casualty there, which means that their morale is 7 minus 1 is 6. Plus 1 for Sergeant Walsh is 7. 7. Roll of 4 plus 2 is 6, so they're actually good. They did not fail morale check. I think I did that all right. They're still broken. They're on their last step. Sergeant Walsh is wounded. Yeah. Both sides are actually whittling themselves down, actually rather steadily. Going to go to the very end. Another attack here and another attack here. Okay, so to finish this all out, the American light machine gun needed a really lucky shot and did not get it. So that's its second rate of fire attack. So it's done. Then the Germans fired on the Americans there in the orchard, and they rolled a 10 and missed completely. So they now everyone is done for the fire and movement segment. So for the close assault segment, we roll again for initiative. Germans roll low, and so they are going to definitely take this opportunity to move into infiltrate 1 hex into the wood building like that. And then it goes to the Americans. The Americans are going to infiltrate into the same hex. All right, at this point, the Americans are the attackers, which means that their light machine gun is going to figure in the melee. So that's all the infiltration. What do they call that? Yeah, step 1's infiltration. We marked the hex for melee the first time an enemy unit enters. Now we go to step 2. Now we're going to resolve the melee. So we're going to resolve this melee. The only thing I'm going to check, I know that the American's light machine gun counts, but I do want to make sure that the wounded Sergeant Kendo doesn't, that there isn't anything unusual with that. Otherwise, we'll see what happens with the melee. It is somewhat suicidal for the Americans, but just wanted to play out this melee. Yeah, so I don't really see anything, so I think it's going to be Sergeant Kendo participates in the melee normally. And here's our melee hex. But we will see how our rounds of melee go. So these machine guns will not play in the melee because the Germans are the defenders here. American side, we've got Kendo. Both leaders are going to contribute their leadership, not their gunfire factor. Okay, so actually because the 2 MG42s are not playing in this melee, it's actually closer than I thought it was going to be. Well, fortune could have really gone. Yeah, if these roles had been reversed, it would have really changed things. But as it was, the Germans rolled a 2, -1 for the sergeant is a 1 on the 1-to-1 column. That's a C3, which would completely eliminate the squad there, for example. The Americans rolled an 8, -1 is nothing on the 1-to-2 column. So, I'm going to say that the Americans not going to survive this. I don't know what I would do with, let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, I guess I could leave the squad on its last step, which would then make it 5. Yeah, that's... Well, actually, I'll do one more round, but that was pretty bloody, and the Germans didn't take anything. Okay, well, pretty interesting. Germans rolled a 2 again. The Americans are definitely done, but the Americans rolled a 2 as well. It's not down to 1 because there's no leader anymore, so it is just a C1 result. 5? No. Wait, it's 5 to 14. Yeah. Okay. I think it's a C1 result. But that would be nothing to the Germans. They would just get 1 result. And I think now the tide is too far, or it's far enough to call it. I think we've covered everything. Actually, we did cover everything in the Quickstart basic game. Definitely a point where the Americans seem to be ahead. At least in control of terrain, which is worth victory points. But now, these would all come off. Now, oh. Try rally. Yeah, there would be rallying there. Yeah, but that's it. Quickstart basic game. Personnel, leaders, light machine guns in this case on both sides. That gives you multiple rate of fire. And close combat, braking, rallying. That's it. So I'm done with this. I will say it again, playing this definitely makes me want to, I don't know if I will or not, but it definitely makes me want to jump into the full rules again. With the full rules, of course, so many more theaters to consider from Finland to, the Pacific. But I don't know when I'll get back to ATS. Might be soon, or it might be quite a while. But this definitely is making me want to play more. So, pretty good success there.